These are simple words. Islam is not a religion of peace. It's a simple, it's a simple, it's a simple 7-word sentence. Islam is not a religion of peace. I mean, there are some peaceful interpretations of Islam, and there are some Muslims who practice these peaceful interpretations. And I think that they do, of course, want to have interfaith dialogue. They do want to have understanding, and many of them, of course, do condemn the radicals. But you gotta hold higher standards to declare a religion of peace. I mean, gotta have the dominant currents, basically, like have it like for one thing, you don't have, like, for example, like radical Islamic scholars like Yusuf Qaradawi being promoted. You don't have nuts like that being promoted, like Yusuf Qaradawi, who supports suicide bombings on Israel, and who basically says that Hitler and all the suffering Jews put up with was punishment for what he says was their corruption. I mean, you don't promote these racist, vile Islamophobics like that. No, you don't promote them. You don't promote them. So make no mistake about it. Islam is not a religion of peace. And and you can't hold Muhammad's actions, justify them in 21st century morals. I mean, it's not a uniquely Islamic thing. I mean, when you have a warrior like in those days claiming that they are basically like acting in the name of God, like, you're not going to expect them to, you can't expect them to behave like a 21st century standards. I mean, it's not something you can totally expect. Basically, well, if it does, if it does happen, there are very rare exceptions. But, anyway, I mean, this is. Of course, we have like Saudi Arabia. Right now these campuses, these university campuses, basically now dominated by Marxists. They're dominated by Marxists, and they're basically turning into Arab dictatorships. I think that's what it's basically going on. You have Saudi Arabia, for example, funding these Islamic centers, funding these Middle Eastern centers and all that, trying to improve their image, trying to improve the image of Islam without any reformation in Islam, without them having to reform, just improving the image. And then, of course, it's run by all these Islam apologists and those who criticize Arab Muslim supremacist dictatorships and who criticize Saudi Arabia just shut up and all that. Basically, they're just basically shut up. Their views. They're basically just shut up basically because criticism of Saudi Arabia and of these Arab Muslim supremacist dictatorships are just silenced basically because those who criticize are forced to leave. As I think Ephraim Karsh even wrote an article mentioning that. Ephraim Karsh, the Middle East expert, wrote an article mentioning that basically. But this is just insane. This is just insane. Make no mistake about it. Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam is a religion of peace. That's one of the biggest jokes we've ever heard. That's one of the biggest jokes we've ever heard. That's one of the biggest jokes we've ever heard. Many people say that this is a clash of civilizations. Crying out loud, the Arab and Islamic world doesn't even have a civilization. The Arab and Islamic world doesn't even have a civilization. Not when they send all these terrorists to kill us in order to spread all that, and not when all these vile, vicious, slimy, good for nothing thing scum basically who basically commit terror attacks are promoted as heroic martyrs. Ooh, yeah. And that's a religion of peace. That's a religion of peace. Because if that's a religion of peace, then what isn't a religion of peace? What do you have to be to not? Then what does a religion have to do to not be a religion of peace? It's just insane. Of course, anyone who says this is racist and bigoted and all that, because when you say the truth, you're suddenly a xenophobic and a racist and a bigot, because the truth is the antithesis of political correctness on at least so many things. On at least many things, if not most or all, political correctness. Political correctness is the antithesis of the truth. And I'm here to bring the truth. I am here to bring the truth. Make no mistake about it. I am here to bring the truth. I'm here to bring the truth, and I'm here to expose Islamic injustices. I'm going to expose Islamic injustices because the Arab Muslim world is so demented to the core and has been so influenced by Nazis. I mean, these Arab and Muslim, I mean the Arab nationalists and the Islamo-Fascists collaborated with Hitler. They collaborated with Hitler during World War II. They collaborated with Hitler against the Jews as well as against Britain and against America. I mean, Amin al-Husseini, who was the Mufti of Jerusalem, who basically was the leader of the Palestinian Muslim Brotherhood and the leader of the Arabs and British Military Palestine, who founded the Palestinian terror struggle, was the father of it. He was Hitler's best friend. He was Hitler's best friend in the Arab and Muslim world. He basically led two Bosnian Muslim SS divisions that committed attacks on Jews. He enthusiastically supported Hitler's genocide on the Jews. He enthusiastically supported Hitler's genocide on the Jews, Hitler's vile, vicious plot to exterminate all Jews. Al-Husseini enthusiastically supported it. He said on Berlin radio to kill the Jews wherever you find them, and he also stated, and he also encouraged Hitler to set up extermination camps for Jews in Palestine. I mean, he basically was an enthusiastic supporter of Hitler and the Holocaust. So, and that's why when you hear, oh, the Palestinians were made to suffer for what the Germans did to the Jews. I mean that's totally misleading. That's total horse crap. Of course, the Palestinian problem is self-inflicted, but also, the Palestinian leadership enthusiastically supported Hitler, so I think that Amin al-Husseini basically played a role in the Holocaust, and he helped to have a pro-Nazi coup in Iraq to set up a pro-Nazi regime that, although that coup failed basically, but it also unfortunately included pogroms against the Jews, basically, which was known as the Farhud, and at least many, if not most, Iraqi Jews ended up fleeing as a result. Because Jews in Arab countries, Jews in Arab and Muslim countries had to deal with attacks, had to deal with persecution. They had to deal with all these mobs coming to attack them. Of course, there were some righteous Gentile Muslims who of course helped these Jews, because I think that some Jews did have, because Jews in Arab countries did have Muslim friends, and some of these righteous Muslim Gentiles did help Jews, but they weren't. But these righteous Gentile Muslims weren't anywhere near the dominant currents. The dominant currents promoted anti-Semitism, promoted attacks on the Jews, so Jews were persecuted and had to deal with attacks. They had to deal with attacks from all these vicious anti-Semitic, Nazi-like Jew-hating mobs, basically, and these mobs were public when they're called to kill the Jews. They were public on it. But also, let me just mention that, even after the fall of the Nazi regime, and many Nazis escaped justice in the Nuremberg, some of them went to the Arab world, and actually influenced, some of them went to the Arab world and actually influenced the genocidal terror struggle against Israel, helping with the dirty terrorist propaganda against Israel, and some even served in Arab regimes, and were taking part, helping to influence and help to spread the anti-Semitism in the Arab and Muslim world. So that's the Nazi influence there. Make no mistake about it. I will expose the injustice in the Arab and Muslim world, and I will show how Islam is not a religion of peace. This is a clash of civilizations. It's like saying it would be I mean, it's even more absurd than if we said it's a clash of civilizations if we fought dog shit. That's what it's like. Because the Islamic and Arab world has no civilization. They have no civilization. At least dog shit doesn't send terrorists all over the world. Like, it doesn't send terrorists all over the world and then cries like a little baby whenever it gets any criticism, basically. Oh, you're a bigot, you're a racist, that's not fair, Islam is a religion of peace. Well, you see all these non-Muslim minorities and even Muslim minorities being attacked and persecuted, and you see these these non-Muslims, of course, as a result, basically flee, and their populations, I mean, are basically